Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex, your host for today. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe button on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. As always, my friends, much love for coming and tuning in to the latest episode, taking a look at how the Giants can solve this offensive line problem, right? Now, many of GMs have tried to take a crack at this one. I have a three-step plan that I want to talk to you guys about. I want to hear your opinions. I want to see if you guys agree with me, if the Giants maybe can execute this and it would pan out well. It kind of centers around adding talent, adding value, but also creating some cap space, maybe dumping a couple players and targeting a free agent to solve one of the guard spots. And ever since the Giants let go of Kevin Zeitler, right? He's making about 7.5 million on average on a 3-year deal with an out after the second season with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I never wanted to get rid of Kevin Zeitler. I always said replacing him with Shane Lemieux was always a mistake. Instead, the Giants ended up replacing him with Will Hernandez at right guard. And then Shane Lemieux got injured in preseason and never really had any chance to start this year. Now we have Matt Skura, who never played left guard in his entire career, starting there for the Giants. So this offensive line conundrum has lasted for quite some time. It doesn't seem like it's going away anytime soon unless we get a competent GM in here that can actually make a difference. Now, it seems like Joe Judge's job is safe for the time being. Dave Gettleman, on the other hand, seems like he's on his way out. The Giants are going to let him retire. I don't even think he should be deserving of retirement. I think he should be fired. Trebuchet to the sun. Let that guy actually feel the harm he did. I can't believe we paid him millions of dollars in salary money to do what he did to this franchise, which was drive it into the ground. I'm tired of the nepotism. I'm tired of John Mara hiring his buddies to have a nice boys club. I just don't want to see it anymore. I want to see them have some, actual chemistry and some synergy in making these decisions. And I'll tell you what, I think Joe Judge, he's a great scout. I think he'd be a phenomenal head of player evaluation. His head coaching abilities, definitely questionable, but it seems like ownership really, really supports him and they're going to continue to do so. Now, what does that mean? If they do keep Joe Judge, but it does seem like that's the direction they're going in, I think that they're going to let Joe Judge bring in a GM that will complement him. They'll be tied at the hip, right? So if Joe Judge and this new GM fail to really develop a new plan and really help this team move forward into the future and make some progress, I think they'll be fired together. I think it'll be a duo. If it's a pairing, if they fail together, they're gone. They're fired together. So I think that's the kind of the approach the Giants are going to take. They're going to let Joe Judge really have a lot of control over the player evaluations and have another, general manager type that can support him and really help him, evaluate these players and in college and free agency appropriately. So talking about the offensive line, of course, now Nate Solder, a lot of people may not know this. Next year, there's a void year, right? So he's off the team. He becomes a free agent after the season. We are paying him $4 million to not play for us, restructured contract so that we didn't get bogged down by the millions and millions and millions of dollars we did owe him before he opted out of the 2020 season due to COVID. Now, with this money, it's hitting us in a bad way. We don't have that much money. We have about $3.5 million in cap space available to us right now. But I will say this. The first step of the plan is simple. We're going to have 2 top 10 picks, probably at the 5th overall pick and the 6th or the 7th overall pick, depending on how the last couple of games shake out here. Both Leonard Williams out, Daniel Jones out. We're going to lose the next couple of games, most likely. So when I'm kind of looking at this team and the draft situation in particular, Evan Neal, of course, would be ideal. Alabama tackle Evan Neal, phenomenal player. He would be my plug-and-play right tackle if it was up to me, but ultimately the Giants may miss out on Evan Neal. The Jets have a pick ahead of us. They're probably going to be ahead of us. So they need another tackle. Evan Neal might be the guy they want to go with. They'll have Elijah Vera Tucker, Evan Neal, and of course, Mekhi Becton on their offensive line, a good youthful foundation there. The Giants, of course, would love to have something like that. And it's not very often we're comparing ourselves to the Jets and wanting to be in their situation. But there's 2 tackles in particular that really stand out to me, Evan Neal and Ikem Nkwonu. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name, so I'm sorry if I butchered it. If you do know, let me know in the YouTube comments. But those 2 guys out of NC State and Alabama, 2 tremendous players. Evan Neal, he's a mauler. He's a big guy. Ikem, he really is a good foundational piece, really good pass blocking, some really good fundamentals. We'll do more player evaluations in the future, but those 2 guys are the ones I'm targeting. If the Giants miss out on, excuse me, on Evan Neal, I expect them to target Ekwonu as that second option. He's a damn good one, so I'm totally fine with that. That's the first step is drafting an offensive tackle top 10. That'll be the second time in 3 years that the Giants will actually have to spend a top 10 pick on an offensive tackle. Now, Moving forward, step two of this is a little bit more intricate, right? It's a little bit more detailed. Essentially, when you're looking at this team, you need an offensive guard, right? You need an interior lineman, whether it's a center or a guard, and everyone has their eyes set on Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa. He is an athletic freak. He is awesome. He is fantastic. However, there's not many occasions where centers specifically go top 10 in the draft. I can't recall a single center in the past decade that has gone top 10. Now, everyone's saying this guy, Linderbaum, is capable of going that high. I don't think he will. There's a lot of great players. And I think there's going to be a couple teams that go for those quarterbacks, whether it be Matt Corral or Kenny Pickett at the end of that top 10 range. So it's possible that Linderbaum slips out of the top 10, maybe the 12 to 15 range, 10 to 15 range. Now, if I'm the Giants, I'm looking at it like this. We need capital. We need draft capital, and we need tons of it for 2023. The Giants are not going to be a good team next year. Maybe they're average at best, right? Maybe they're average at best. But the likelihood is the Giants are going to have to really ponder the idea of going and getting a new quarterback in the draft. Now, personally, I love Bryce Young. Some people may think he's small. Some people might think he's not that good. The guy has just natural touch. He's athletic. He can move in the pocket. He feels pressure. This guy put a plan in place to solve the offensive line, get some young pieces now, have them develop a year of experience. You go out and you do everything you can to get Bryce Young. Now, it'll be hard, but if it's possible, if the Giants see a way and they have this draft capital and you're looking at, the first overall team, let's say they don't need a quarterback. Maybe it's, I don't know. It could be the Lions and they don't want to get rid of Jared Goff. It could be any team. And they're like, we don't want to go that route. We want to get the pass rusher or whatever it might be. The Giants could say, hey, we want Bryce Young. We just loaded up on draft capital. And what I'm talking about now is that second top 10 pick from the Bears, trade back, trade back to the 10 to 15 range, maybe trade back twice. If you're looking at a team that may be trying to get into the top 10, that's at around 11 or 12, and they want to get their guy. Maybe it's George Karlufis, whatever his name is, from Purdue, the pass rusher. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's an offensive tackle. Maybe it's offensive lineman. And maybe you trade back multiple times in the first round. We've seen Seattle do it before. Now, I think the trade back scenario is a good one because, look, I would love to get a top pass rusher, and that I think is something to be addressed with either that first round pick or the second round pick. But I will say this: we got to keep loading up in draft capital for the future, because if Daniel Jones doesn't pan out, and I don't know if we're going to hit him with that fifth year option, I'm really unsure of that. It's definitely possible we do, but if we don't, we got to be sure that we are committed to finding another quarterback on a rookie deal that really opens up the door for us to spend around him, and we have some youthful pieces on the offensive front. Now, if the Giants do find a team, maybe like the Saints, maybe the Saints are looking, hey, we want to trade up. They're kind of in this kind of weird range. I think they're like 15 or 17, somewhere around there. I think they're 17th right now, but they can end up with the 15th pick, right? 15th pick. Let's say the Saints are like, we don't like Taysom Hill as our quarterback. We like Kenny Pickett. And Kenny Pickett's dropping, and maybe he's in like the 10 to 7 range, and the Giants have that pick. Trade for the Saints, move back, get their first round pick next year, because now they have a rookie quarterback, and they're probably going to struggle because of it, right? Any team that has a rookie quarterback, you can assume, is probably going to be an average to below average team. That's usually the case. Look at Trevor Lawrence. He's a great example. Go to one of those teams that really maybe not be ready to win now. But at this point in the draft, I'm looking at maybe let's trade back, get some more draft capital for the future. And I think that's a good way to set yourself up for 2023 to really go after the quarterback that you want. So step one, draft, use that first round pick, the one that the Giants pretty much have locked into 5 or 6. Use that on the top offensive tackle. Ekwonu out of NC State makes the most sense to me, because I think Evan will be off the board at that point. But then use that second Bears pick to trade back and gain more value, because you really have to be thinking about the future too. What if Joe Judge doesn't pan out? What if they have to fire him? They have to hire a new GM, a new head coach. It'll be a lot more attractive if they have to have some actual capital to kind of wave around and say, hey, we got a lot of goodies over here, and we have got players at the end of their contract are going to have a ton of money opening up soon. Maybe this is the way to go. And a GM prospect may say, oh, I really like that scenario, and I think the Giants have to be thinking about the future too. Now, I think that Tyler Linderbaum could be there in the 10 to 15 range. So if there's a team willing to move up a couple spots, get some more draft capital for the future, then you're talking about, maybe having yourself a Tyler Linderbaum in the mid of the first round, or maybe a Karlufis out of Purdue. Who knows? So I think that ultimately that's a really good option for the Giants is to trade back. So that's where the step 2 comes in. Now, step 3 is more about free agency. The Giants, we talked about in the last video that the Giants can clear $42 million in cap space. Now, it's going to require them to cut guys like James Bradbury, Blake Martinez, Kyle Rudolph. Now, I think that a player the Giants should consider is Andrew Norwell. The Giants tried to get him back in 2018 when Dave Gettleman was first brought in here as general manager. Andrew Norwell ended up signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, he never lived up to the 5-year, $66.5 million deal he signed, but now is a great time to really snag him on a cheaper option. He's going to be coming off that big contract. He's definitely not worth all that money at this point in time. He's going to be 30 years old, so he's a little bit older. This is a player the Giants might be able to land at about $8 million per year, where he was making over 10, maybe about 12 in Jacksonville. So if you get a guy like that for $8 million, he's a really good pass blocker. He's consistent. You put him next to Andrew Thomas. It's a hell of a duo. You really can run behind those two guys. You can really do a lot of things. And you can really trust them to really hold down the left side. And then you get your offensive tackle at right tackle in the draft, and then maybe draft another guard like Linderbaum. Like, think about that. Andrew Thomas, Andrew Norwell, Tyler Linderbaum, and, Ekwonu or Evan Neal. That's a really good situation. Then you have Shane Lemieux at right guard, or you just have them battle it out. You draft somebody in the middle rounds and you have them compete for that right guard spot, or you sign another free agent there. We'll talk about that in the future as well. But I like the Andrew Norwell idea personally. So it's really a good situation because the Giants, they don't need to clear that much salary space to sign a guy like Andrew Norwell. If it's $8 to $10 million, they can make room for that. They can restructure Kenny Galladay's deal. They could cut Martinez and then re-sign him to a new contract. No one's going to pay him $14 million coming off a torn ACL. So maybe he's like, I want to stay here with Patrick Graham, but I don't want to be cut. There's a lot of different things that could happen here, but ultimately, I think step 3, go and get Andrew Norwell. So my 3-step plan ultimately is use that first round pick, that Giants one, on an offensive tackle, trade back with the second one, get draft capital, because we are thinking about the future still. You get a guy like Tyler Linderbaum or an interior offensive lineman or a pass rusher and use your second round pick on a guard. There's still some good options there. And ultimately, if you're really rolling with a young offensive line like this, you're going to be rolling with 2 rookies on the line. You kind of have to expect it's going to take a year for them to get their grounding. Look at Andrew Thomas. Took him a year. Second year's coming out, and he's kicking ass and taking names. So I think that 1-year experience jump is really essential for a team's growth and for a player's growth, rather. So I like the idea, even if it's a second-round guard, have him develop for a year, and then you have your draft capital still for 2023 in case you want to go after a quarterback, whether it be CJ Stroud, whether it be Bryce Young, a ton of different options there. But Andrew Norwell, that's a guy I'm definitely 100% targeting coming off that big deal. Kind of had not even a down couple years, just in comparison with his actual deal that he signed. I think that he didn't perform up to that level, which is actually a good thing for the Giants. He's 30 years old, maybe get him $8 million a season. That's a hell of a steal for me. I'd say sign him to a 3-year deal. And you're, walking to the sunset. Look at Andrew Whitworth, for Christmas sake. The guy's bald. He's white hair. He's 40 years old, turning into Santa Claus real quick. So ultimately, I think this is a good 3-step plan to solve the offensive line this upcoming offseason, at least giving them some good, decent starters to work with, and then grow, right? It's about growth. It's not about stopgaps. It's not about this or that. It's about giving your quarterback some time in the pocket and your running back some time to make some cuts and make some decisions before he runs into Billy Price's ass. So ultimately, this is how I feel, how the Giants may be able to work around this and really, target a fix or a solution on the offensive line. I'd love to hear what you think in the YouTube comments of this plan or maybe alternatives. Of course, this is definitely a scenario that could go in multiple different directions. We'll see what they do, but I kind of think this makes sense altogether. You have some veteran talent and you have some young guys on the line, so at least you're not going in there with a ton of rookies. Half your line is rookies and half of them are veterans, so I like that good mixture. Just having some leaders there and some guys with some experience that can help. But I do think Rob Sells did a good job helping develop Andrew Thomas and really just doing a tremendous job holding this piece of trash line together for the most part. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fireside Giants, breaking down a 3-step plan to solve the offensive line. But make sure to subscribe and like the video on YouTube. Much love as always. We'll catch you guys on the next one.